Hello, 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 and welcome back to Sip the Tally Films. I'm your host, Coach Evans, and everybody know Greg Roman got fired. So he say he resigned to seek other opportunities, but Greg Roman's gone. So toast to everybody out there. Get your purple Kool-Aid ready because we're gonna have a nice talk. Appreciate you, Will G, for being a member. Appreciate it. Appreciate you coming through. But again, y'all thought I was gonna be by myself. Guess what you got? You got a Thursday roundtable in this mug. We got the gangs all here with the exception of Chris. Chris had a something he had to do already planned out. So
Shout
this
out to
was kind
Chris,
of
man.
a last
Indeed.
minute thing with the news of Greg Roman being kaput. So and these guys, they came through, and so I appreciate you guys for coming through. And we're gonna run around this thing and just kind of keep it like we do it on Mondays, but we just not going past an hour, people. Hour is our limit, and no matter how y'all can get us past an hour, but it's gonna have to be donations. Donations.
Facts.
Donations. Gifts. Donations. Y'all know that where that's from? That's from Umar Johnson. He was arguing with somebody and he was talking about donations. Donations. He reached in the back and highlighted gifts. And it was like a gift card to Red Lobster or something. But it was funny. So what we're gonna start off with Greg Roman got fired today, obviously. And they said that he resigned to seek other positions, but I don't necessarily believe it. I think somebody came in and said, look, bro, it is what it is. Your time's run up. You got to go. So resign or be fired. That thing right there. What you think about that, Mikey?
Thank the Lord. Thank the Lord. Thank the Lord. We needed something. Look, it was time, man. We spoke on the show on the round table about it all the time. It's time, man. So, I'm glad to see they made a move. Whether, like you said, however it happened, it's cool, right? Greg, I like you. So let's just call it a resignation. Let's not call it you being fired. And then everybody's happy. So let's keep it like that, and we'll keep it smooth. You write. We'll help you write your little letter saying you want to go and seek a head coach job or whatever it is. And now everybody's happy. So either way, however you want to do it, cool. I'm just glad he gone, man.
And dope.
For me personally, I'm indifferent about the situation. It's not going to matter to me unless we see what they actually do with the offensive coordinator. Are they going to go keep it internal and hire James Urban? Are they going to hire Craig Versteege? Are they going to hire one of these guys that kind of fits the mold of what the Ravens do? Now, if they actually go out there and get somebody very innovative and with a different philosophy and mindset, I'm going to be happy as hell. But until I see what they do, it is what it is.
But this is the step in the right direction.
No, how many offensive coordinators has John Harbaugh had in his 15 years?
But you got to get rid of Roman to get somebody else in. I'm saying that's the first step.
Oh, where we go from Mark Trestman? Who we go to after that?
Brian, how you feel about Greg Roman?
Was Morningwood not a step up from Mark Trestman? I didn't say he was good, but yeah, he was a step up.
I mean, he was.
Yeah. But still, the first step is you can't have two coordinators, so you got to get him out the door. That's all I'm saying. That's the first.
Okay,
step.
I mean,
now whether they still can form the bag on it, still, but the first step is getting him out the door. What you think, B?
You're muted, B.
Always, every time. I don't know why you would question whether or not he got fired or resigned just because nobody ever calls Greg Roman about any job ever. But whatever, that's fine. I think it's like Mike said, it's about time. They've needed to make this move for several years. I mean, he was never really the guy for the job, but Lamar kind of carried him along and everything. But it was obvious for the past couple of years that it wasn't going to go any further. And it's not all on Greg Roman. They didn't give him anything to make a passing game work. Even though we know he's not great at that, but they didn't give him any tools to help him along in making the passing game work either. So it's not 100% on Greg Roman. So I'm kind of with Hendo. It depends on where they go from here. They were talking all that good stuff about, rebuilding the wide receiver room and, casting a wide net for their offensive coordinator search. But if they cast a wide net and like you said, and it comes back and they pull it up and it's T. Martin, then who cares? Yeah.
As on you, Jose. What you think about it?
Well, yeah, no, I mean, I kind of agree. I'm a little bit more optimistic only because, even if they try to do the, hey, we're going to hire from within, right? Hey, we looked at all the candidates out there. They're going to leave no stone unturned, is what they said. And we looked all the way out there, and you know what? The best option is in house, right? They could still get lucky. We could T. Martin might just be good, that. So there's that little bit of hope. I don't have faith in that necessarily, but getting rid of somebody that is bad, or it presents an opportunity at least for somebody else to go in there and do something differently. Now, if they keep their word and they're actually doing a real search, that would lead me to believe, especially if they're saying Lamar's going to have input on it, that would lead me to believe that Harbaugh doesn't have as much control over that hire this time around. And you mentioned Mark Trestman, but who the coach before Mark Trestman, that gave us one of our best offensive years in Baltimore, and Gary Kubiak. So if this is a Gary Kubiak situation, that is really good.
Now you just said something about trusting him to hire the OC. So I had a little back and forth on Twitter today, and they were saying, and you guys may agree with the other person saying that Harbaugh should have no input in who he hires as an OC.
No,
I personally think that's ludicrous. To have a guy that my job is in his hands for the most part, and I don't have a say in who I hire, I'd lose my shit.
But is it in his job wasn't in Greg Roman's hands, right?
If he wouldn't have stayed, if he'd have stayed, probably.
Okay, so to your point, me as the general manager, shouldn't I get a say?
You should.
Because
I'm not saying it should solely be the head coach, but the person I was going back and forth with was saying he shouldn't have had no say in it. That's what I'm saying.
So I hear what you're saying, right? But I think the 2 times under Harbaugh where he didn't have a say was Jim Caldwell. I don't think he had a say with Jim Caldwell, right? Cam Cameron was
who hired him? The GM?
Ozzie. I don't think that initial staff was all his people. Because he didn't have full control yet. He was a brand new coach at that point. I don't think Caldwell was his guy necessarily. Cam Cameron was, and they're like, listen, your boy got to go. He got rid of him. And Jim Caldwell took over, right? And then the second time, Gary Kubiak, everybody knows that wasn't his hire, but that was one of the best years. It just doesn't work out. Like, he has a track record of his friends being bad at their jobs. So, him not having a say wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. It wouldn't feel good. I get it. I get it. From your standpoint, coach, like you wouldn't want just somebody in here that you don't have, any rapport with or anything like that.
I do want somebody that's good, and I'm just talking about me personally. I do want somebody that's good, but I got to have a guy that I trust too. And a guy being forced on me may not necessarily be the guy that I trust to do the right things when I'm not looking.
Yeah. So yeah, I get what you're saying. Not saying. Of course, he's going to have input. We're being real about it, but I don't want him being the deciding factor either.
I would say he should be one of 3 or 4 guys. So obviously him, DaCosta, Bisciotti, and maybe the president. Maybe those 4 guys get together and they put
Lamar.
And Lamar. Yeah. And now they say that they're going to. What we can talk about, we just kind of morph onto what we heard in the presser, and we can kind of take our snippets from there, what we thought about it, whatnot. And I'll just kind of go first because I don't want to steal nobody's thunder as far as the pressure. The biggest thing that stood out to me in the presser was the fact that he kept saying the wide receiver room going to be new. And normally he'll say it one time and kind of gloss over it, but it kept being reiterated this time. So maybe there will be a real attempt to do something and not just go back and to the old, just getting the old guys. What was your biggest takeaway from the presser, Hendo? And you can kind of comment on what I said too.
My biggest takes were the lip service that they were given. Initially, he was like, yes, when we go for this offensive coordinator search, we're going to have Lamar involved in the situation. We're going to get his input. Then he kind of careened off a little bit to the side and was like, we're going to let him know. You want to ask him a question or two. You're not going to be the decide the ipso de facto in this situation. But the thing that got me is the most from this presser was when EDC said he was asked a question and he was like, yeah, getting the Roquan Smith deal done. If we decide to keep both him and Lamar, that's something we might want to do. And I'm like,
He did say that.
Might. That's odd. So that was my biggest takeaway from it.
Jose?
Yeah, I mean, look, Harbaugh and EDC, they're both known to be liars, right? Like, I just don't take too much stock in what they say nowadays. Like, I got to see the action, first, and then follow it up with the comment. So, yes, Greg Roman's out of here. Even that, I don't feel all that great about. I wish they would have just fired him, because letting him walk out the door implies he did his job great. There was nothing wrong. And I know they have a history of doing that too. They don't necessarily like firing coaches if they can avoid it. They rather just the coach get a job somewhere else. But obviously nobody's really checking for Greg Roman like that. And they just kind of let him walk away. But they need to send a statement like, no, it's not all good. We have a standard, because you got to let the players know too, not just for the fans, for the more so for the players. We have a standard here. He didn't meet that standard, so he's gone. But letting him walk kind of lets him off the hook of that, from all that, which is why, if you can't fire, you brought in your friend, you can't fire your friend, you have less say on the next hire. That's how I feel about it. But the wide receiver room, they're right in what they're saying. We'll see if they do it. I don't know.
B?
Yeah, I disagree on the Greg Roman thing. I don't have any problem with them letting him save face on the way out. Like, look, he's not the best offensive coordinator, but he's not the worst offensive coordinator, and their offenses were good. I mean, that's obviously we know that's almost all Lamar, but the offenses were highly ranked. They scored a lot of points. They won a lot of games. It's fine. Like I don't see. There's no reason to kind of kick him on the way out. To me. You say you want to send a message, and they do need to send a message, but you send a message with the hire. I don't think you're sending a message necessarily. I mean, it is one kind of a message to fire him, right? But the more important message is who you're going to hire, and it just has to be somebody different than Greg Roman. In terms of the wide receiver room, they said they're going to look at free agency, draft, and trade, and it's going to be new and all that. And then they signed Andy Isabella to a futures deal, so I don't know.
Yeah, I did see that earlier today. Mikey?
I mean, look, it just reminded me of, the presidential campaign, and they got to tell you everything they think you want to hear. I'm with Zay on that. Like, I just got to see it. I don't trust them. They got to say what sounds good. They got to say what we want to hear. They knew they had to put a blanket over top of that fire that was starting to get out of control over this Lamar situation. So that stood out to me, how many times they had to make it clear or known that they talk to Lamar every day, and Lamar and I are friends, and all of that, right? They had to put that out there. But I gotta see it. And to your point, Coach, I do agree. I'm with you. Like I do think he should have some say on the hire, because if he has no say, then that gives him an excuse if it doesn't work out to say, "Oh, wasn't my guy." So
Now,
then we
I
got
guarantee
another
that
year.
dude to get fired.
Yeah, then we got another year.
Yes.
Then we got another year with him if it doesn't work out. So he should have some say. And then B, you also hit it on the head too. But you have to make that statement with who you hire next, and it has to be almost a splash. Like, you got to get somebody in here that's going to open this thing up, put all the cards on the table, man, and let's see what we got.
Right.
But they got to go forward too, and everything. The wide receiver room. It's funny though how last year starting the season, that wide receiver room was. They got it, man. We got we got good young talent there. Now it's, oh man, we got to change.
We like
this
our
whole
guys.
Yeah. So but we'll see, man. But I'm more so on put up or shut up with this organization and the front office and coaching staff right now.
Did you guys hear the first thing EDC said? They're asking him about Lamar's contract negotiations. He kind of threw a slight little jab at the beginning and said, "Well, it takes two to tango."
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, they say that.
But didn't you say you talked
They've
to him
been
this
saying that
morning?
too, though. They've been saying two to tango, and he did say he talked to him that morning.
So if you talk to him, were you not tango? Like did you not do the tango then? Like I'm pretty sure if you go to Lamar with what he wants to hear, we dancing, right? The deal is getting done. Things are moving. You were saying, hey, we're progressing now. but you didn't, right? You went there with the same BS. He's like, well, I mean, we'll talk when we talk, I guess, right? Like you can't make it seem like he's not willing or he's not talking to you guys, and you're saying at the same time that you're talking to him every day. You know, we have great conversations every day.
Every day.
Well, it sounds like you're doing the tango, so make something happen.
Right. That was a big contradiction from himself. Put his own foot in his mouth.
They did that the whole time.
Yeah, they do a lot. Yeah, on top of line.
Oh, but listen, when Harbaugh was like, listen, we need to take some of Greg Roman's run schemes with us, and his pass concepts are excellent. That's when I literally turned it off. I had to go rewatch this. When he said that, I turned it off.
I was threw up.
Excellent pass concepts.
Yeah, the concepts, like something gets lost in translation to the actual playbook. But when he starts talking about it in the meeting room, man, it blowing their minds.
Two guys in the same place? Wow.
Yeah, with a third on the way?
Right.
They'll never see this full bag streaking down the
but the third guy catches the ball and the other two are ready to block. Come on, man. But
don't put that past Roman now. While you cracking jokes. That might have been the plan. Hey, look, both of y'all go run this hitch. We're gonna run a drag right from on the other side, and y'all just turn around and block.
No, but you know who did that? Somebody did that in the game Sunday. Was it Miami? Somebody caught the ball and he turned around and he threw it off. Now that was
Miami. I know.
It was San
Waddle caught a pass on the sideline with Tyreek Hill almost standing right beside him. I did see that.
It was at Buffalo.
Yeah. One of them. Anyway, Greg's out of here. But did you hear the part where he talked about the negotiations? He said the negotiation with Roquan happened over a period of months. Mm-hmm. He said, and obviously Roquan doesn't have an agent either. He said the negotiation with Mark happened 6 days.
Yep.
He also said Ryan Stanley's took a year and a half.
Took a year and a half. He did. Yeah. I think he started with Ryan Stanley. I think so. We're technically, and I think somebody said this, and correct me if I'm wrong. They've been negotiating for 2 years, and they still hadn't got a deal done yet. So
he said, I think, did he say? He said 2 years, right?
I heard. I just didn't know.
Somebody said 2 years. Yeah. Whose fault is that?
It's really, that's what I'm going to ask you. Who's at fault? I think the whole dynamic changed when Deshaun got paid.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That played a part. That definitely played a part. But as we always say, and a great New York philosopher said, yesterday's price ain't today's price. So that's just how it works. And they've been bitten by that word before. You know what I mean? And that phrase before. So I'm sure it did change the dynamic. But at the end of the day, if you don't want to pay it, you got to pay it. It just, I mean, I'm sure the Browns really didn't want to pay that. But it's like, hey, do we want this guy? Then we got to go. We got to do what we got to do. I'm sure Buffalo didn't want to pay as much as they paid. I'm sure the Packers didn't want to pay as much as they paid. But it's necessary. It has to be done. The market set itself, especially in that position. Mm-hmm. Look, as somebody who negotiates contracts, and don't remind me because we start next week to do some more. Like it can be ugly, right? And it's you know, it does take two to tango in some things, but there is a point in negotiations where, as my man in here said, somebody got to start off on the dance floor with the Park Heights strut, right? So that got to let you know I'm trying to dance, right? Mm-hmm. Now let's see what you're going to bring to the dance floor. But it is gamesmanship, and I think both sides played that. I just think Baltimore is just really, really bad at doing it. And I don't know if his EDC, I don't know if his lawyers, I don't know who he got on his team when it comes down to negotiating. But he got to work on that. But if you want to get the deal done, when you seen Lamar in the cafeteria this morning, you should have had something, or you should have whispered in his ear, "Look, bro, this is what we going. I'm gonna holler at you about this, and it should be over." Like he said with Mark Andrews within days.
Right.
But what scares me is, I think he feels like he got this tag in his pocket, and he has, you know, he has the control right now, and I don't know if he want to play that game because Lamar could easily be like, "Oh, my knee still ain't better. I'm gonna chill. I'm gonna sit out. I ain't signing nothing, and force your hand." So it's gonna be interesting. But I feel like when it comes down to situations like this with organization and player, the organization has to take the lead. They got to jump on that floor first, and they gotta and they have to come aggressively if this is what they really want to get done.
And like Charles said, they can't let him play on the tag. And correct me if I'm wrong. If he gets tagged, that limits moves we can make.
That whole thing hit the cap. So for me, it's not even about the money. To be honest with you, if you really look at it from my perspective, if they tag Lamar this season coming, it's going to be $45 to $48 million. Next year, the year after that, it's supposed to be between 50, 57, and that's without taking in Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert's deals into consideration. So for 2 years, you're going to give him $100 million guaranteed, at least. Then have to sign him to a long-term deal, which is going to at least be another $100 million. So for me, that doesn't really make sense. You're going to give him, with 2 franchise tags and a new contract, wherever he goes, he's going to get in excess of $300 million. So it's not about the money, because they're going to have to pay that eventually anyway. And then you're handicapped with the next 2 salary caps with those tags. So it's more to do with either they don't believe in him, or it's about who has control in the situation, in my opinion.
All right.
I have
to add to it. Go ahead.
B, I'm sorry. I don't think B went. Go ahead, B.
I was going to say, I just, when I heard them talking about Lamar's going to have a say in the offensive coordinator search, to me that sounded like them being desperate and trying to lure him, back with less money, because otherwise, I don't think John Harbaugh or EDC would be interested in what Lamar had to say about who the offensive coordinator would be, right? So that to me sounds a little like desperation. And to Endo's point, I think it is about the money. Like, he wants a certain amount of money, and they don't want to pay him a certain amount of money. But like you said, I think that is because they don't believe in him fully as a passer. They believe in him as a player. They believe in him as a leader. They don't believe in him as a passer. And that's why they saddled him with Greg Roman for the past 4 years to begin with. Nobody would look at Justin Herbert or Joe Burrow or any other young quarterback and say, what's best for that guy's development? Gregory Roman. no one would do that. But they don't think he can win as a passer, and that's why they don't want to pay him the money that he's looking for. But also, to your point, Hendo, like they don't have to pay. Like, they're not going to have to pay that eventually if they move him.
Right.
So I think that right now, I think they're still trying to play a little bit of hardball and saying, hey, we are offering you what we're offering you. We have the tag, and you know what? If you don't like it, maybe we will just move you somewhere and start over, because we can get somebody who maybe is not the same kind of athlete, maybe he's not as dynamic, but we'll get a better passer than you. And that's not true. And hopefully it doesn't come to that for Baltimore. But I think that's kind of still where they're at a little bit in their thinking. And they're trying to find other ways, like I said, to keep him in the fold that aren't just giving him the money that he wants.
Yeah, it's a crapshoot on finding a better passer. That's a crapshoot.
Yeah.
They're not going to. But,
I want to add one more wrinkle to this.
Go ahead.
This, like the way they're acting did not start with EDC. This goes back to Ozzie from years ago, right? They have a philosophy, they have their formula, and they stick to their philosophy, right? And this is something that we've criticized Ozzie for years. Me and B criticized Ozzie for years about, is that he doesn't read the market well, right? So they have a set price for players in their mind, and they go into the offseason, even the draft, right? A lot of times, like, hey, okay, we're looking to get this guy here, and then players go off the board faster than they thought, or players get signed for a lot more money than they thought. And it's not just offense, right? We saw it happen with CJ Mosley. They just read it wrong, right? It's the same thing happened with Lamar. They had, they kind of figured, okay, based off of Josh Allen and Pat Mahomes, we got an idea what we want to pay. And Lamar said, yeah, I'm gonna wait, because I know you can give me more than that. And then Deshaun Watson happened, and nobody saw it coming. Right. And I think them more than Lamar needed this year to kind of get themselves together, because they're like, oh my God. Right. We were expecting to have to give that much. I think this year, or this offseason, having that whole year to kind of soak everything in and then having more contracts, other players, getting signed coming up, they'll, I'm not saying it'll definitely get a deal done, but I think it opened the eyes a little bit more. I think they have a better understanding of the situation and what they need to do. So hopefully that turns into them getting the deal done.
Yeah. And to be honest, and we said this on our show before, they shouldn't have been that shocked with the Deshaun Watson deal. Okay, it being fully guaranteed is one thing. You weren't really expecting that, even though that has happened before as well. Mm-hmm. The $230 million, that's not far off from what other quarterbacks have gotten. Right. I mean, it is a little bit, right? But like Kyler Murray just got 189. Mm-hmm. So you're talking about 41 million. You got Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow getting their extensions this offseason, and Lamar Jackson should be getting his extension this offseason as well. How long do you really think it's going to take before somebody surpasses 230 million guaranteed?
Right.
It's not going to be long.
I'm almost sure Joe's going to surpass it.
Right.
So your best out is to try to get it done before they go ahead and drop their bag on Joe.
Yeah, I mean, he won MVP in his second year. You were eligible to sign him in his third year. You should have given him whatever he wanted because he wasn't asking then what he's asking for now.
Right. Yep. Exactly. And then you didn't have this body of work of us being as terrible as we are without him either.
Facts.
So that, him being hurt actually kind of helped him a little bit in my eyes.
Imagine Justin Herbert got that money. Good Lord. After the way they went, they got bounced on playoffs.
That was horrible.
Look, you ain't paying the team. You ain't paying the team performance.
Right, but every time we were talking about quarterbacks, it's always playoff wins that get factored in, right? Mm-hmm. Like right or wrong, that's the judgment for Lamar. And Lamar can look over at Justin Herbert like, well, that $200 million man doesn't have a playoff win.
Yeah, but we know why it's like that for Lamar and not like that for other players.
Right. So. Yeah.
And y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but if I'm not mistaken, Kyler got 189 guaranteed with a total of 230. Is that right?
I don't remember what the total is.
But he got more than 120, right?
Yeah, he had like 120 guaranteed at signing with a total guarantee of 189. That's why they could trot out that line that they gave him more than Kyler because they offered him 133 guaranteed, which was more than Kyler at signing, but far less than what Kyler got in total.
Appreciate it. And Edwin, I'll tell you from the jump, I'm not a cap guy. I don't really pay attention to the numbers like talking about it. I'm a film guy, so I may mess some cap numbers up, but I ain't perfect, and they don't get paid me to do cap numbers. So if I blow it, I blow it. Ain't like I'm gonna get fired for my own stuff.
And at 200 million,
I mean, I ain't trying to be funny. I'm just saying, I ain't a cap dude. I say that to everybody. I'm not a numbers cruncher when it comes to these, because I think the cap is cap.
It is.
So I don't want to waste my time trying to figure out something that can twist and turn whenever they feel like it.
Yeah, Coach. It was 230.5 million guaranteed. I mean, not guaranteed. I'm sorry, 230.5 million extension. Right.
Okay.
And that report from Marcus Spears about Lamar's offer 200 million guaranteed, that was over like 6 or 7 years though, right? That wasn't like, it
wasn't the 5-year deals that the others were getting.
Right. Right.
Was that report was recent, right? I didn't see that. I saw somebody talking about it on Twitter or something. I didn't see this Marcus Spears saying.
Was it Marcus Spears?
No, that's what they said. That's what they said it. But it was supposedly he said there was a new offer. I didn't see it, but I don't know.
Not good enough.
But and I don't know if you guys said it because I was, dealing with something over here. But the Ravens also. This is even more of a reason why when EDC seen him in the cafeteria, he should have sat him down right there. This is also why. Wherever Lamar is ready to go, if he's going to Florida, he needs to follow him.
What?
Because
I think aren't they team meetings in Florida?
They are.
Yes.
If Lamar decides to wait to see what Burrow and Herbert gets, it's going to cost them more money. Mm-hmm. So if I were them, I would want to get this done right now. But again, they like to play this game with certain contracts and. That could hurt him. So I would be following him everywhere he's going. Where we going? Are we going on vacation together?
We hit Cancun. Where we going?
Yeah. So that's like like how the Warriors did when they got KD. They locked him in the room. Like,
they went to the Hamptons and got him.
Yeah, we ain't going nowhere. Let's sit here and let's get this done.
Charles, hit me with the link on Twitter for that one. If you got it, hit me with the link on that one.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
that's correct.
he told her that it was between 160 and 180.
180.
Okay.
So at the top end of that, it was 9.5 less than what Arizona had given Kyler, who they didn't even think he put in the work to be a franchise quarterback, and they gave him 189.
All right. Kyler be on Call of Duty with me. All right. So we spent 30 minutes talking about Roman and the press conference. So now let's kind of get into the nitty-gritty for this second half. But let's talk about offense coordinator candidates and guys that you may want to see or may not want to see. So what I did was I went and I made me a list, and I'm sure you guys got people in mind, and we can just kind of throw names out there and go from there. And even if you don't have names, we can just kind of talk about the guys I got on this list. And I just pulled the first one out, which is probably the one everybody talks about, is Bieniemy. B, what you think about Bieniemy?
I mean, I think that Bieniemy should be a head coach, right? And I guess there's reasons as to why not. I don't know what it is that the league doesn't want to give him a head coaching job. But I think that if he is serious about actually leaving Kansas City as a lateral move, and going somewhere else, and I guess trying to up his resume even more from being a Super Bowl winning offensive coordinator with one of the best offenses in the league for several years, then they should absolutely go after him. But I don't think that. I think that is the exact kind of move that that John Harbaugh would not want to go for, and that's why he would want input, right? Because he doesn't want somebody who could take his job, and Eric Bieniemy is that guy.
Hendo?
Oh yeah, I take him in a heartbeat. I know that a lot of people's complaints are going to be, oh, Andy Reid's calling the plays. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, even LaShawn McCoy, who doesn't like him, said that he does call the plays. Like, he may not call each and every play, but he knows down distance situations. He can't be any worse than what we have with Greg Roman. Now, everybody thought once Tyreek Hill left, that offense is going to falter. Actually, to me, Patrick Mahomes looks better because now they don't know where the ball is going to go. He schemes people open. What's the dude named Watson?
Justin Watson.
Out there killing them. Killing them out there. And a part of that has to do with skill. Part of that has to do with your offensive coordinator scheming you open. And that's one thing that we don't have here in Baltimore, someone to scheme people open. So I'll take him in a heartbeat.
Jose?
Yeah, so I actually think that the next coaching hire needs to be the successor, right? Because they need to start telling. Harbaugh should be fired after this year. I mean, he should be fired now. He should be fired now. No coach and quarterback tandem has won a Super Bowl if they haven't done it in the first 5 years. So this is year 5, and they didn't do it. So he should be gone. Now they should be telling him it's time to start making some other plans. We're not going to fire you, but next year or two, you need to start. You need to move on.
There's a chair next to Ozzy with your name.
Yeah,
on it.
yeah. It's been a good run. We're not going to fire you, but you're going to be seeking other opportunities as well. And this guy that we bring in is going to be your successor, right? And if that's the case, sure, Eric Bieniemy, and that would entice somebody like Eric Bieniemy to come here, right? I don't think Eric Bieniemy's not going to make a lateral movement unless they force him out of Kansas City. But if Kansas City wins, why would they do that, right? So that's how you entice somebody, Eric Bieniemy. Byron Leftwich, who just got fired, that's another person that should be a head coach, who I like a whole lot, and I would love for him to come in and be an offensive coordinator, and then later on be the head coach.
So I'll let Mikey talk about. Bieniemy. Then we can. Then you just start off with Leftwich, Mikey.
Okay, yeah. So listen, I go to Kansas City and help Bieniemy move, drive him over here. Maybe it is something he will consider. I do think, even though there's people that co-sign him calling plays, I do think there's a lot of people out here that follow that narrative that Andy is really calling it. So maybe he will need to get away from that and go to a situation where it's clear that he is the sole play caller. So maybe small chance, but I'm with B on that. I don't think John would do something like that. But it would be awesome to have him here. Leftwich is probably at the top of my list. Again, I agree with Zay. He's somebody that probably should be a head coach. He's another one that I see. He's another one that I don't know if John would bring in just because of his potential. You know what I mean? And everybody knows that he has the potential to be a head coach. So John, though, and maybe it's what he needs, right? Maybe he needs some to be watching his back, and maybe that'll wake his ass up. Excuse my French.
You good?
But you know, Leftwich would be somebody else that would be really good here. We just need, as we said on Monday, we need a fresh new voice, a fresh new scheme, system, whatever you want to call it. I don't want anybody with any remnants of what we just went through, right? So he'd be perfect. He'd be perfect. And not just for us, you know, because we obviously like the move, but he'd be perfect for the players, right? The players need to hear something else, right? That stuff gets stagnant, man. Like
A different voice.
yeah, you know, coach, you coach, you've been coaching for a while. You know how hard it is to keep your voice and keep it relevant to those players, especially if it's not working, right? Or you got a few bad games here and there. You know how hard it is to do that over a certain amount of time and years. So either way, I'll take anybody outside of this building at this point, right? I don't want anybody in the building. Give me anybody outside the building. Give me anybody off of Andy's staff, and give me anybody off of Philly. At this point, I take Matt Nagy. I think he went back to Kansas City.
He did.
I'll take him. Come over here and call plays.
But he didn't call plays in Kansas City. Got a head coach job.
Well, it didn't look well when he got to where he was. But listen, I need somebody with that type of mind that's been around that type of creativity to be here with that Lambo we got.
Jose?
Oh, I already went.
No, we
going
don't.
back
Leftwich.
with Leftwich.
Yeah, we're going back. Come back. Yeah.
Oh, you just want to give my input on Leftwich.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, look, man, like I said, he should have been a head coach this year. You know, I can't blame him for turning down that job with the Jaguars. I mean, they were a hot mess. They didn't want to get rid of their GM. So I mean, but it sucks, right? Because Doug Pearson's doing a great job there now. He gets fired, so you know he's not that hot candidate anymore. But I think like I think it's a great opportunity for him to come in here and just the thing is, like, we don't need a complete transformation of the offense. That's the thing, right? And I know Harbaugh talked about that in the presser about, you know, we have our identity or whatever, and they want to keep the identity, but change the scheme, whatever that means. But all right, you still want to be, you know, run the ball, control the clock. That's essentially what you're talking about. We can do that without running Lamar so much. We can get J.K. Dobbins more involved, and we can have an evolved pass game. It wouldn't take that much work. Just somebody that, you know, is a little bit more sophisticated. Nobody currently on the staff and nobody from Michigan. Yes. You know what I told you earlier, B? And Pep Hamilton, I saw Pep Hamilton's name out there. That's another one person I like. I also want to bring up Brian Johnson for our guy Chris. Just joking. That's his guy.
I'm getting ahead of yourself.
Oh, my bad. I'm sorry.
Coach got a list.
We talking about
wiped out half his list already.
Hey, really, we talking about Bieniemy and Nagy, and y'all talked about Nagy, so that was the next person. So what I'll do is, for time's sake, we'll talk. I got a list, and some people, there are multiple people off certain teams. So with Bieniemy, it was Nagy, so we can kind of, you know, I think you mentioned Nagy already, so we can kind of throw him in there too with Bieniemy. You keep going, Jose. Unless if you were finished, it's on you, Hendo.
Only thing I'll add is Leftwich has been coaching one of the most immobile people I've ever, you know, like ever to walk the face of this earth for the last 3 years. What he could do with Lamar, oh man, right? So I think that's perfect. He already knows how to draw plays for an immobile quarterback, have a competent offense, a high-scoring offense, somebody like Lamar who you don't have to run. He can keep him in the pocket and then let him just use his speed when he feels like it way more. You can see a way more dangerous version of Lamar with Leftwich.
Yeah. But the thing is with Leftwich, and I'm coming to you, Hendo. Why did he get fired?
Tom Brady.
All of us answer?
No, that's for everybody. That's like if he got.
Oh, I was gonna get into that.
They had
it's on you.
And they had a 45-year-old quarterback.
Right. I mean, somebody had to be used as a scapegoat.
Okay.
They went 8-9. They looked horrible in the playoffs. And last time I checked, Leftwich didn't make Tom Brady throw the interception at the goal line.
Right.
Because that turned the whole complexity of the game around. I think that he would definitely open up the potential for Lamar. He's been a great offensive coordinator for a while. He's a Super Bowl winning offensive coordinator. But more importantly, he knows the AFC North, being a quarterback that was in Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
And being a quarterback himself, he knows the position. So I think that he can just do things that Greg Roman maybe can't understand, some concepts that he couldn't. Now, as far as Matt Nagy goes, I'm going to say no. Because if Eric Bieniemy can't get a job because he didn't call plays, why should Matt Nagy? Because he didn't call the plays either. True. And it was a couple other on that staff that got jobs, and they weren't play callers, but yet and still they got head coaching jobs. So that logic doesn't work for me.
B.
Yeah, I think that Byron Leftwich would be a great hire. Like I said before, I think Eric Bieniemy would be a great hire as well. I'm with Hendo. I don't really want any parts of Matt Nagy.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Nagy screams kind of Mark Trestman to me. I don't want it. But I think that to Hendo's point, Byron Leftwich was doing a fantastic job in Tampa Bay, right? And the year that they had some O-line injuries and Tom Brady fell off the cliff, they still, they were 8-9, but they still won their division, got to the playoffs, hosted a playoff game, and they just got beat by a better team. And they're looking to overhaul that coaching staff. They fired, I think, seven coaches, and I don't know. It could be just a scapegoating thing. Hey, I'm getting rid of Byron Leftwich, so I get to keep my job as Todd Bowles. But that firing didn't make any sense to me. I don't think you're getting better by losing a coach that's that talented, right? And letting him go somewhere else, and he's going to do a good job, and he's going to eventually be a head coach in the NFL, right? And that could be you benefiting from that with the new rules and the draft pick compensation and everything. So that didn't make any sense to me. Yeah. But I think there's going to be a very lucky team who gets to pick up Byron Leftwich. They said Pittsburgh is talking about him. Bringing him in as a position coach, maybe a quarterback coach or something like that. So that kind of it's a two birds with one stone kind of thing for Baltimore in that scenario. You keep him away from Pittsburgh, and he's a massive upgrade to your offense.
Mike, anybody else want to talk about the Chiefs guys being or Nagy, and we can move on?
Look, I just threw Nagy out there because I'm desperate, guys. Okay.
but I did write his name down though.
You know what I'm saying? I take anybody outside of this building at this point.
I think Sancho's talking about Sumlin, right?
Can we get somebody for something? Yeah.
Do you have Frank Reich on your list?
I do.
Okay. All right. Let me stop talking.
So we gonna move. I tell you, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I got 11 names on here.
Okay, all right.
So the next two guys from the Eagles, I got obviously Brian Johnson. He's the quarterback coach, and I got their passing game coordinator Kevin Patullo. Is this how you say it? Patullo, Patullo. Those two guys. What you think about those two guys, B?
I don't know much at all about Kevin P.
Good call.
but Brian Johnson, I think would be another interesting hire for him. Where Baltimore's at, I think that a guy like Bieniemy or a guy like Leftwich should be far and away the guys that they're looking at, or even a Frank Reich, because these are guys who have experience in those roles. Some Reich has experience as a head coach as well. And Baltimore is a team that should be looking to compete for a Super Bowl right away. So guys like Johnson and Kevin, they could be very talented. But like you saw with the defensive coordinator, maybe you're not ready immediately. So for me, while they're intriguing names, and maybe you do have to end up going down the list a bit, because there's only one left, which is only one Bieniemy. I would start there for sure before trying to talk to these other guys.
Hendo.
Yeah, I don't know much about the other dude, Kevo, but you call him Kevo, but Brian Johnson. Yes, look what he did. Look what he did with Jalen Hurts. Everybody likes to point to the fact that they went out and they got AJ Brown, but look at his mechanics. He's throwing the ball a lot better. His accuracy has improved, and it's not just his wide receivers. He played a role in that as well. So I think that taking out James Urban and inserting him, giving him some help while being the offensive coordinator, can actually elevate Lamar. So if he were one of the last choice options, I'd go with him.
Say.
Yeah, look, Brian Johnson for sure. No, I don't think any of us know who this other guy is, but look, I'm gonna be real about it, man. Like I prefer the OC to be a black coach because they don't get enough opportunities, but also they understand the sense of urgency when they get those opportunities. And I think a coach that come in to work with Lamar understands they need to make sure Lamar is successful. I don't want any other coach come in. I'm not saying this wouldn't be the case if we got Frank Reich or one of these other coaches, but I want a coach to understand you're here to make our great player stay great, right? I don't want a coach to come in with the mindset of, well, we just need guys to fit my system. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like the coach that comes in needs to be able to work with Lamar, understand Lamar's strengths, weaknesses, and all that stuff, and put together an offense around that. I would say, the offense as a whole, but the offense is Lamar. Know Lamar's strengths, bring in weapons to complement Lamar, and win games.
Right. Mikey?
Yeah, as I said, I'll take anybody from that staff. Like, I mean, just what they did this year. Obviously they brought Jalen Hurts some weapons in, but I mean, the way they use him, to me, is perfect. And I think, although Hurts is a great athlete, I don't think there's any greater athlete than we have at the quarterback position. So I can just imagine what he would look like in any semblance of that type of offense. So, Brian Johnson, his name seems to be hot. I mean, I know I believe he's interviewing for some head coaching jobs right now. So he'll be somebody that, he'll be tough. He'll be tough to get especially if he's in any consideration for a head coaching job. So, but I take him. I definitely take him.
Yeah, I don't know much about Kevin P, but that other than that, he's the pass game coordinator. But I have had the pleasure of being around Brian a little bit. When I was living in Columbus, Mississippi, which is 10 minutes from Mississippi State, we spent a lot of time on that campus. That was when Dak was there, and Brian was the OC coach there. And so I've been able to be in a couple of meetings when he talked ball and things like that. And even maybe 8-9 years ago when that was, he stood out as being a sharp individual to me. Didn't know he was in the NFL until like last year, like making the rounds or whatever. And what he's done with Hurts, I really like it. Can he transition from being a position guy to the guy? I don't know, but I wouldn't mind seeing him get a shot to do so. Just take some of them concepts and go with us. But the thing is, the question mark I would have about him is if we don't get prolific guys outside like they have, because they really got 2 1,200 plus yard receivers. AJ Brown got 14 or 15 something, and then Devontae Smith got like 1194 or something like that. And they lead the league in rushing. So again, two things can be possible. We need to find somebody that can have us a good run game as well as expand our passing game, because the passing game is poop-a-doo. All right. Moving on to the next team, the 49ers. First person is Bobby Slowick, who's the passing game coordinator for the 49ers. Second name is Young Kubiak. Clay. So what you think about those guys, Hendo?
I will take anybody. I'll give my left arm for anybody from San Francisco. Listen, I'm sure that they have soaked up a lot of knowledge from Kyle Shanahan. That is the real run game guru.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've seen this dude take guys from working at Walgreens and make them 500-yard rushes. He schemes. Listen, he takes his most talented players and he puts them in one-on-one situations to get them open, get them touchdowns. They have their third string quarterback in there, and they're possibly going to the NFC Championship game.
Yep.
That's not by happenstance. That is by design. So I'm sure that they soak some of that knowledge up. And I would first speak to them and see what kind of concepts they had, because a lot of these guys, they all have playbooks. Even though they're not coordinators, they've drawn up their own playbooks from stuff that they've seen. And I'd like to go over with them, quiz them, see how they would run this offense. But if you really want to take somebody that can do more with less, you get somebody from San Francisco.
I agree. And shameless plug, there is a video on More Sip the Talent about how Kyle Shanahan makes it easy for Brock Purdy. Go check that out. All right. B?
I'm gonna say no to both of them.
Okay.
I don't think that they are learning how to do more with less, because they have an insane amount of talent.
whole lot.
I'm not just talking about this year.
Okay, but this year is when we're talking about their offense, though.
Okay.
Right? You know, I mean, you know, obviously Debo did his thing last year as well, but they weren't like a juggernaut until they you know, Ayuk took a next step. George Kittle got healthy. They brought in Christian McCaffrey. I think Kyle Shanahan is the show. Like he's the guy who makes that all go. I'm not sure how much these guys are going to be able to, you know, kind of take that and travel with it. And I mean, the Kubiak hit, I'm saying no, just based off of my disdain for nepotism in the NFL.
Is that Greg's son?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, Clint Kubiak.
Kubiak.
Yeah, that's how many, they ain't put 10 people named Kubiak. All right? But I don't think that's just my impression. Obviously I could be wrong, but when I look at Shanahan, I think it's really him that's making it go. And I'm not sure that like I said, I don't think those guys would be able to translate that somewhere else. So I would be looking away from San Francisco.
Not B. Mikey?
I take them too, right? Because this is, I mean, it's one of the things. It's one of those things, though. You know, like I slightly disagree with B, and I don't do that much because he's always right. But Kyle Shanahan is his coaching tree is starting to grow a little bit, right? And it's growing with some of the younger, better offensive minds, like, you know, Mike McDaniel. You know, him as a head man might be questionable, but him as a play caller and him as what he does on the offense is solid. You know, what's the dude from the Packers? LaFleur. He's LaFleur.
Gucci Mane LaFleur.
Yeah, he's one of them. You know, he's on his staff. So I think that he does a good job of creating young minds. And I think that, you know, any good young offensive mind like that typically brings other good young offensive minds around them. So I'm sure somebody in that room he's very, very impressed with, and I'm sure, you know, they translate well outside of that organization. But again, those teams that we've named, Kansas City, Philly, San Francisco, I mean, I wouldn't be mad at all in taking a shot on one of them. You know, it's just, I mean, they've shown it, right? So it's just, let's do it. Somebody that we know has the mindset, right? We might not know how they are as play callers because they haven't held that job, but somebody with the mindset and know how to use somebody that we have. Like I keep saying, that Ferrari, man, you can only drive that a certain kind of way,
right? And
I think, you know, people from those staffs of the teams that we named, they have that mindset of how to use somebody like that, or they've been around people that know how to use something like that.
Your boy LaFleur just got fired, man.
Not that one. The
not the Jets one. Not
the Packers.
When did he? Did he coach with Shanahan?
Yeah.
Under Shanahan,
he was with McVay for a year, but he was with Shanahan for like 10. So they fight over him. They fight over whose tree he's really under. He got hired from the Rams as a head coach, but he was really with Shanny for 8 to 10 years or something like that.
Jose?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind taking a look at baby Kubiak. Look, you know, yes, I get the argument with nepotism, right? but that's how Kyle Shanahan got his start. As much as I couldn't stand Kyle Shanahan in the beginning because I hated Mike Shanahan.
Arrogant.
Yeah, just the way he treated McNabb and RG3. I just didn't like him, but he's a damn good coach, and I think he learned everything from his father. And I think it's the same thing. It might be the same thing with Clint Kubiak, right? Because Gary Kubiak was a damn good offensive coordinator. He worked with Mike Shanahan for years, and clearly when he got to be his own coordinator and or his own head coach, it translated. And if he's passing that down to his son, you might have something there. One thing I do want to bring up though, when we're mentioning all these coaches, something that you got to factor in is, who do they know that they can bring in? Because it's not just their schemes and everything like that. Like, can they bring in the right position coaches, wide receiver coaches, run game coordinator, pass game coordinator, all that stuff? Can they put together a staff?
How much of a staff you think they're gonna have to put together? Because just because Roman got let go, I mean the other cats.
Ideally, an entire staff. I mean,
but just because you fired the OC, you get rid of the rest of the guys.
That's a good point. I don't know.
Because you could be like the Rams. The Rams cleaned house. The Rams fired about 9 people.
Yeah.
Oh, they fired assistant coaches, like assistant coaches and everything.
Yeah.
This brings back a question at the beginning of the year. T. Martin and Keith Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Whose guys are they? I don't think those are Harbaugh guys.
I don't think anybody want to claim them right now.
Right, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So like,
hey, but you ain't give them nothing to cook with. You gave them just
all I heard was wide receiver guru. He made Tyreek Hill. What's he going to do with Devin? What's he going to do with Bateman? Well, the answer is nothing. Right?
yeah.
But I got to disagree on because
they need Tyreek.
Bateman improved. I'm
not saying that he's a bad wide receiver.
Yes.
That's not what I mean when I say that, right?
And I think
he wasn't never. I don't think he was ever even part of a staff before, was he? Keith Williams.
That's what I was saying. I think Keith is more of a
trainer,
like a technician.
Right. And so I don't think that bringing him in to a coaching staff, you can't expect those kind of results, right?
Now T is the one I have reserved about. T, I'm reserved about T because myself personally have taken some of what's his name? I just forgot. We were just talking about not T, the other guy.
Keith Williams.
Some of the stuff he's done, I've taken that and used it to coach with. So I got a lot of respect for T. Now, I mean, I'm sorry, Keith. But what T, I don't like. They say he did good in college, but I don't really see.
Look, here's my thing, man. There's no talent on that team. I don't care how great of a coach you are. You can't. It's impossible to make anybody on this team Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill because he has ungodly speed. Okay, you can't replicate that. And to think that
how to catch though.
Well, hey, I listen. They had very limited time to work with DeMarcus Robinson. Okay,
I was talking about James.
And I agree with Coach. I think Duvernay made huge strides this year. Right? Obviously, yeah, he wasn't great, but like much better than last year. Right? We couldn't even locate the ball. Right?
This is true.
I think they did make an impact. Give them something to work with. But T. Martin, as far as like, what does he know? What does he bring? At the end of the day, he doesn't call a play that goes out on the field. Mm-hmm. So they could have been working on a lot of things. I think kind of David Culley alluded to this too. There's a lot of things that they could have done in terms of passing, but the play that actually got called on the field isn't what they discussed or even what they worked on.
It was the quarterback sneak. That's why I ended up on the field.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So that's the Eagles guys. I'm not sorry, the 49ers guys. Now everybody else is separate individuals that I have. First guy up, Joe Brady for the Bills. He's the quarterback coach. Go ahead, BC.
I just, that was involuntary. But Joe Brady was the kind of the hot shot out of LSU, and he was fast track for a head coaching job, and he went to Carolina and kind of face planted a bit there, and now he's a quarterbacks coach.
When he Burrows and them OC.
He wasn't. That's the thing. He wasn't actually.
He wasn't the OC. Yeah,
it was the older guy.
Yeah. And he was the. I believe he was just the pass game coordinator. He had some other title, but he wasn't the OC there.
That was Matt Rule's first OC, right?
Yes, if I'm not mistaken. Yes.
Yeah, and it wasn't great. So I'm gonna pass on Joe Brady, but I do think to what Jose was saying, I think he's a guy you can bring as part of the staff. I wouldn't
like a position coach.
Yeah, I wouldn't give him the OC job.
Gotcha. Mikey,
didn't he spend some time in New Orleans? Or do I got the wrong? But okay,
he spent a little time in New Orleans as another assistant. That's why they brought in Teddy Bridgewater. So
yeah. I mean, I'm gonna say he didn't have much to cook with at the position. No offense, B.
He ain't had DJ Moore.
Not wide receiver. I'm saying quarterback position, right?
Teddy Two Gloves, huh?
Teddy Two Gloves.
Hey, but notice when he said the quarterback position, B ain't throw a name out there either.
No. I said Teddy Two Gloves. All right. Look, Teddy took Minnesota to the playoffs.
He did.
Okay? He went 5-0 in New Orleans. That's why he got the job.
Hey, Teddy's had a solid
Teddy got paid off
career.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yes.
If his knee hadn't just spontaneously exploded, he would have had a much better run.
Teddy gonna be one of those guys that, because how old is Teddy? He's still fairly young, right?
But like 28, 29 maybe.
Yeah, he'll be in the league for another 10, 15 years if he wants to. Like, he's that type of guy. But Brady,
he's the guy that's behind Kyler. What's the
Coach?
Is it Colt McCoy? No, Colt.
Oh yeah,
Colt McCoy.
He's Colt McCoy.
Colt McCoy.
Yeah, those are guys. Hey, you need me to what? You need me to go in there for a couple plays. All right, like Teddy and Colt are those guys that don't even have to warm up. Like, all right, man. Like, I've been doing this so long. I'm gonna just go in there. I got you. I can get us through. Yeah. But so Brady wouldn't be at the top of my list. But I definitely listen. I definitely check him out and see what he talking on. Peep his mind, peep where his head is.
Reach out to him and talk to him.
Yeah, at this point, like, hey, we gotta talk to everybody. Now, he was at one point he was a hot shot, like B said, he was a hot shot candidate. So people saw something in him. Right, so
they saw Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase in him.
That probably, I'm sure that played a huge role in why he was getting calls. But let's see what he's talking on. And I mean, even for the strength of that, like, bring him in here on some role, because we play them twice a year, so you know them well. We need to know what you know about those boys. So, but we can talk to him, but he wouldn't make the top of my list.
Zach?
Yeah, it's gonna be a no for me, dog.
I mean, like Mike said, bring him. It wouldn't hurt. Bring him in for a talk. See what he knows. But while he's up at the blackboard, and he turns his back. It's just gonna be like. But I did my due diligence. I went through the process. Listen, he was horrible in Carolina.
All right, be you in first, right?
Yes.
Okay. Next guy, Darrell Bevell, passing game coordinator in Miami. Hendo used to be in Seattle with Russ cooking.
Like
he was with the Jets too. Was he with the Jets for a while?
I just know him from Seattle.
I'm not 100% sure if it was the Jets, but he was somewhere else and he was not cooking.
I'm not going to put that passing game in Miami.
I thought he spent time in Dallas, didn't he?
It wasn't his offensive coordinator. If it was,
it wasn't. He didn't.
He was an offensive assistant in Green Bay for 3 years, and
That's
then 3 years as the quarterbacks coach, and then he was the Vikings offensive coordinator for 5 years, and then that long stint in Seattle, and then a couple of years as offensive coordinator in Detroit, and 1 year as offensive coordinator in Jacksonville.
I'm pass. No.
B.
I mean, I just read through his coaching history, and it seems like a dude who's been fired a lot as an offensive coordinator. No, but I think he's a guy who has grown, and this is the kind of guy that I would look at if I were Baltimore as well, because you're not looking for a guy to come in here for a year, make his name, and get a head coaching job, right? So you're trying to be a contender through Lamar's prime and after, right? So I would target a guy. I mean, Bevel, I know, is going to be looking for head coaching jobs, but he's not the 35-year-old offensive genius kind of candidate the teams are looking for right now. So I would definitely give him a look and put him on that short list with Leftwich and Bieniemy and Reich. He wouldn't be at the top of it, but he'd be on that list.
Gotcha. Mike?
Was he the one that called that pass play down on the 1 yard line in the Super Bowl?
There wasn't wrong. There wasn't a damn thing wrong with that call, Mike. Marshawn is a poor goal line back.
But it was only second down.
Did he call that play?
Maybe.
I don't know if he called the play.
Maybe.
If he was a part of it,
feels like Pete probably called that play.
If he was on any part of that play call,
that was nothing wrong with that call.
That's a great segue, Mike. We'll leave Darrell Bevel off the list. I didn't think about that. But if he had I'm with you, Mike. If he had anything to do with that call,
then we see what just happened last week when we did a quarterback sneak from the 3 yard line.
That ain't what happened. All that happened was their corner beat Seattle's wide receiver. That's all.
Hey.
There wasn't nothing wrong with that call.
It was.
It wasn't though.
Pete Carroll did not want Marshawn to be MVP of the Super Bowl.
You want to
really?
Yeah, because he got a bonus. They didn't want to give him that money.
Look, our running back is already upset for not.
You think he was thinking about the owner's checkbook on the goal line at the end of the Super Bowl?
What was he thinking, B?
He was thinking everybody in the world thinks Marshawn's going to get the ball right now, and I'm going to throw a quick slant.
Except for one person.
Except
for one person.
Yeah, well, you
who
put things on tape, and sometimes it comes back to bite you.
You know who gets left out in that situation? The guy supposed to have been setting the screen and didn't do it because it was a pick play.
Yeah,
and he basically just ran past.
They just didn't execute the play.
Yep,
it would have worked.
Wow.
Oh well.
All right. Moving on,
would have worked too.
We over an hour, so let's get to these last two guys.
Let's
get to these last two guys. Last two guys. Frank Reich. Start with Frank Reich, Mikey.
I actually like this. I would like this. I think he played a huge role in that Super Bowl run. He had, who a lot of people call a dumpster fire of a quarterback. Well, his own coach called him that this year. He had him damn near about to win the MVP.
He's tired of this shit, Mike. He's not gonna
Who you say your biggest problem is? Quarterback.
He had that man looking like a MVP. He was about to win the MVP if he didn't get hurt. So I would not mind that hire at all. It makes sense. I believe they had. I mean, him and Harbs are connected in some kind of way. Whether it's just that they both coached in Philly at one point in time. I don't know if they coached together, but there's some connection there. So, I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind that pick at all.
Hey, hold on one second. Hey, Bumpy, is that true? Please tell me that ain't true.
Cormani to Colorado.
Yeah, it's the number one DB in the nation.
From Miami.
No, he's not from Miami. From outside Orlando, Lakeland.
No, I mean I thought he was committed.
Oh, he was committed to Miami. Yes, he was committed to Miami.
Go there.
Go where?
Miami.
Hey,
bro,
we're talking about the NFL right now. We're talking about the NFL right now.
Does that say to FFU?
Hendo, chill now. I got some stuff in the box. Just chill. I ain't asked you for your address yet, so just chill.
He's slow rolling that
package
more than I
like 2.5 months.
But go ahead. I'm sorry. I just go ahead. Damn it. I don't mind him playing for Dion, but I wanted him to go to Miami. But go ahead.
Who's next? Mike, you done?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah.
I'm gonna agree with everything Mikey said, man. And like I said, like the coach, the next OC, I want that person to be a head coach in waiting. I want Harbaugh to be moving on. And if he feels like, hey, I don't want my anybody coming for my job, it's just like you said, it's more motivation for him to win. If you win a Super Bowl, you're safe, right? But you should not feel comfortable at this point, right? You squandered 5 years of Lamar after he saved your job. I don't want you getting comfortable because I think that's what happened the last couple of years. You're just comfortable and he was lazy. And you need some competition. Just like these players, we always say players need competition. Iron sharpens iron. Same thing with the head coaching spot. So yes, put Frank Wright on the list.
Oh, most definitely. I'll take Frank Wright. Like they said, they took one of the most downtrodden QBs and made him an MVP.
He wasn't downtrodden yet.
He was on his way. His teammates didn't like him, but even more so, they took his backup and made him a Super Bowl champion. He took Nick Foles on one last ride, and they won. Another thing, he's familiar with the areas, being that he's a University of Maryland quarterback, so he has ties here. So I think it would mean a little bit more to him to bring something back to the hometown team. And like they said, Harbaugh needs fire lit under him. And I think Frank Wright would actually challenge him like, look, bro, it's not working. We need to do something else and go in a different direction. So yeah, I'll take him in a heartbeat.
B?
Yeah, I think he's a good coach. I think he did a good job in Indianapolis outside of, the barrage of injuries they had to deal with over there. And like everybody else said, I mean, I think he would push Harbaugh, but he's proven in that spot. And yeah, I don't think a guy who played in the league and who's coached in the league as long as he has is gonna really just kind of back down to John. You know what I mean? I think he'll have his opinion and that'll be it. And he'll push back on Harbaugh when Harbaugh tries to say, let's run that quarterback sneak from the 15.
Like, how many Super Bowls I've been in, John?
I love that call.
I wouldn't mind if we don't get a young whippersnapper, I wouldn't mind Frank Wright because of what he's done in the past, and he has a good body of work to look back on and say, okay, he's proven to be able to do X, Y, Z, and you give him because he's never had, like Mike said, he's never had a Ferrari. And
Andrew would disagree.
Luck. Okay. Luck was heady.
Greatest QB prospect of all time and all that.
Look, he had yes, but he got broken luck though.
No, he had him early.
Frank Wright?
Yeah.
He
had him before he was broken.
You mean the 83 interception
no,
guy in 88 games?
Pagano had him.
Yeah, but I'm saying he had him before he was broken.
Before he was totally broken. He was just partially.
No, I think he was mentally broken by then.
Nah.
Wait, because when did he burst his spleen? Was that was under Pagano, right?
I'm just
not
don't
sure.
have no luck.
Yeah,
I think after that, he was like, no.
And you're right, Jose, because I think he did something. They did a documentary or something on him, and his wife left. His wife was like, I'm not going through this. You are going through too much dark of a time, and you're not trying to dig yourself out of it. So after like 3 years or so, he just went down this dark path, and he was broken mentally.
He threw for 4,600 yards and 39 touchdowns. Reich's first year there, he wasn't broken.
I didn't say he was
not.
Okay.
Yeah, ain't nobody talking about how comfortable he is when he goes home. We're talking about on the field.
Well, it carried over to the field because he said always being a quarterback and a leader, like it got to him because he said he didn't know, like when he went out with all his friends, he would order everybody's food for them.
Andrew being a goddamn weirdo ain't got nothing to do with what we talking about. All right, he was a very talented quarterback. He played really well.
He was very talented. He did, but he was a turnover machine as well.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit.
So he wasn't a Ferrari.
JP, no Prochet slander. Please. This is about coaches. We're not talking about Prochet. No Prochet slander.
But what is Prochet if not a coach?
We are talking about coaches. Next up. And then I got this name on the list. And I put it here before I realized what teams had to give up to even touch this dude, and it was Sean Payton. And I
As a
know he's
coordinator?
looking for head coach. I knew he was looking for head coaching jobs, but still, I don't if he didn't get one. But I forgot the stuff people would have to give up to even mess with him. So I really don't even know if I want to talk about him or not.
I don't
Well,
even
just
want
what
him.
he said about
I don't
Lamar.
want him anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dirtbag.
What?
After what he said about Lamar and all, I don't want him anyway.
Nope.
Gotcha. So
Lamar
let's
wouldn't
start with
sign
Frank
off
Wright
on
then.
that.
And it's a bunch of other guys out there that I just didn't name and whatnot. Is there anybody that I didn't name that you guys want to talk about for a minute?
B has one, but he don't
Who's
want
on
him to come
who's
to
on Doug
Baltimore.
Peterson's staff?
What?
In Jacksonville? I didn't even look. Honestly, I didn't even look.
I said
That's
B.
a
B
good-
got a guy.
That's
B got a guy.
They have to look at who you got.
Okay.
B got a guy, but he don't want him to come to Baltimore.
I don't know
Ken-
who
Ken
he's talking
Dorsey?
about.
Ken Dorsey.
Oh, Ken Dorsey ain't taking no OC job.
I will say this: there's a lot of OCs out there that I didn't put out there because, like, I only put Bieniemy over there because people was talking about he didn't call his plays, but I didn't put. There are no other OCs on my list because who would take a lateral move?
Right.
Yeah, and Bieniemy was actually supposed to be or they requested permission to interview him in Tennessee for the OC job, right? So like, there's a thought that he could leave for an OC job, but Ken Dorsey ain't coming to be second fiddle to John Harbaugh.
Right.
But look,
The
didn't,
enemy
didn't-
just in
he signed a
interviewed
1
with
year.
the Colts, right?
right, but Bieniemy signed a 1 year contract last year, a 1 year extension because he was a free agent last year. They signed him to a 1 year deal, so he's technically free after the playoff run. So if he doesn't get a head coach job,
I think if they win the Super Bowl, that'll change some things though.
that's just true.
Yeah,
If they win the Super Bowl, I think all the head coaching jobs are not filled by then. I think he'll be right there for one.
Yeah.
What's that dude calling plays in Detroit?
the only
Oh,
thing
yeah.
that's going to change is that they're going to be blackballing the Super Bowl winning OC.
It's Ben
That's
Johnson,
all.
right? Is that his name?
Yeah,
It's
Ben
something-
Johnson.
I think it's Ben Johnson. Yeah.
He went back to
He's
Detroit.
staying.
He's saying
He said
he's
he's staying.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's wrong with him?
They're building something
Well,
special.
they got potential.
What?
Now. They
They got
potential.
building something
They-
special in Detroit, and he wanted to be part of it.
And he heard
Right.
Lamar was
Yeah,
coming.
AKA, yeah. As soon as Campbell loses first 3 games next year, I'm gonna be the head coach.
They ain't firing all kneecaps.
They ain't fine kneecaps.
Got it. So, with that being said, that's our.
What about Cliff, coach? I mean, I know
Cliff,
he in Thailand right
Did
now.
you not see what Chris said Monday?
I know he.
You
but
think
I mean,
that football is going to bring him away from that?
And how about why would you want it to? He's been terrible everywhere he's been.
everybody like a shiny, new Lambo. That's all I'm saying.
He's been terrible everywhere he's been.
Bro, I get $5 million for the next 4 years from Arizona.
Mhm.
I'm staying in Thailand.
Right.
Me and my boo thing. We ain't coming back. Forget y'all.
Mhm.
So
See you when I see you.
right. And then after them 5 years, I might want to get back in and get my coins back up. But if somebody told me they was rich in it, he was rich anyway. His
Oh
family.
yeah, he good.
So
He good.
Yeah,
Forget him.
I don't doubt it.
But again, before we get out of here, let's let everybody get their information out there and where people can find you and your stuff and what you got going on. We'll start with you, Mikey.
Yeah, so I am the host of Open Mic with yours truly, the show where the mic is open for any discussion, no matter what it is, who it is, or where it is. Coming next week, man, I got a fire episode with Coach Evans and my homeboy Denarian McCann's former Washington Redskin wide receiver. I'm not gonna tell you what we talked about. I just want y'all to tune in, because it's dope, and we had a really, really good conversation. Yeah, so go over there and subscribe for your boy. Help me
Got an
get
episode
my-
out today.
Yeah, I got an episode up today. I gave my take on Lamar Jackson situation. Not so much from X's and O's and wins and losses, but just kind of how the media is kind of trying to slander my man, and I ain't appreciate it. So go check that out. And I am also on your favorite audio podcast listening devices and programs, whatever you want to call it. Go over there, give your boy a 5-star rating. And then I am 1/3 of Ring Kings podcast with Rodney and Jose and little Mikey in the background. So yeah, man. And also follow me at OTR_Mike on Twitter and Instagram and all of those good places.
And their information is in the description. I tagged everybody, and I also just added the Ring Kings podcast to it also.
Appreciate it.
Endo?
Yes, sir. You can find me at Ravens Online on Gatekeeper every Thursday and Sunday doing a live stream. You can also find me in audio form in your favorite audio listening, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you find that at. You can find me Fridays at noon with my man, Mr. Galloway, on Electric Relaxation with Mr. Galloway, and
What
wherever
about
else.
Tuesdays?
Huh?
What about Tuesdays?
And wherever else I'm requested. There's nothing
Tuesday evening on a Steel Conspiracy
It's not a real thing.
with Suge Knight on Suge Knight 323 channel.
It's not a real thing.
You're there every week. It's very real.
I see him there too.
Wow.
Jose and B.
All right, we are the Lunch Break Hot Take. We do a live show every Wednesday night at 7:15 p.m. Eastern Time, followed up by the overtime show, which you got to be a Patreon to sign up for, patreon.com/LBHT show. Also, like Mikey said, we are, me, Mikey, B, do Ring Kings podcast. Usually every Monday or so-ish, we have a new episode out. Okay, so if you're a boxing fan or you're just a casual, diehard, whatever level of fandomness you have in boxing, we got something for everybody. So go over there and subscribe. Also, you can follow us on Lunch Break Hot Take on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at LBHT Show. And for the Ring Kings channel, it is at Ring Kings Pod.
And we just put out a kind of a review and / discussion about Kasim the Dream, the documentary about Kasim Uma, who was is a junior middleweight to middleweight boxer who was kidnapped at the age of 6 and forced to be a child soldier over in Uganda, who fled at the age of 18 and used boxing to get away from his life in Uganda, and then to kind of rebuild his life and rebuild his family as he grew older. It's a really fascinating story.
Yeah.
Check it out.
Oh, and you're looking at 5 out of 6 of the Ravens Roundtable on Monday nights, 9 p.m.
Missing Chris just joking. They actually are recording an episode of the Deep Cover podcast. So that's why Chris is not able to join. The link to Chris's show with Kerry and Mike is in the description also. So make sure you check them guys out when they come back. And you can find me on TikTok, IG at Sip the Tally Films, and you can find me on Twitter at Coach Evans 9, and you can find me on the other channel, More Sip the Tally, on YouTube. That's More Sip the Tally. We for the streets over there. We mess with everybody over there. All 31 teams can get it. So that's what More Sip the Tally is, and I appreciate everybody for coming through. I appreciate you guys for coming on kind of at the last minute and doing this, because like me and B was talking before we started, I didn't think they was gonna fire him or let him go or whatever, but they did, and so here we are, in a good search, and we just hope Harbaugh don't fumble the bag on it, and that's where we're at, man. We'll see you guys Monday with some more content, and we're gonna go from there, man. Appreciate everybody for coming through. Appreciate you guys, and let me end this thing right here.